everybody, welcome to another Family Flips video. I bet you thought I was going to say unboxing, but it's a different kind of unboxing in that we are going to be unboxing your questions with our answers. So
yes, and we have no idea what these questions are. They have been sealed in the envelope.
We did have Ron, one of our amazing friends and employees, monitor all the questions that you have sent via email and on Messenger and all of those things, and he has put them together, picked a few of them, and put them in this envelope. There are two videos, first of all. So for this one, this is for liquidation related questions. I know that we have a wide audience, so those of you who are not interested in the liquidation questions, don't worry, there is another video posted with personal questions
soon. It may not be posted when this video comes out.
I don't know which one we're doing first.
But
it really
we
just
have no
depends.
idea.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
Hello, I'm Joe.
And I'm Jessica.
Years back, we set out to find a lifestyle that allowed us to live comfortably, homeschool our 3 children, and make a life and legacy we would be proud of.
Reselling liquidated goods both online and locally through our bin store was the vehicle that allowed us to do just that.
It's hard work, it's constantly changing, but we wouldn't trade it for the world.
Here's the story of how our small business runs in the midst of all the challenges life throws at us.
As always, thank you for stopping by, and come on in.
Anyway, so we've got these questions. I don't know how many are in here, so I'm trying not to take up too much of your time, and we'll just go ahead and get these open. You want to read the first one?
Oh, they're on separate pieces of paper.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
I'll read the first one.
All right.
It says, from Mike, what was the first pallet you ever bought?
So the first pallet, to keep it short, was a big pallet of junk. You know, we needed product to sell because we had several employees and we had problems finding other stuff. So went online to liquidation.com and purchased a pallet.
It wasn't liquidation.com, was it?
It was.
Oh.
Yes, it was because I had purchased some stuff from them a long time ago. So I'm like, hey, what do they have? And I didn't read the fine print. I didn't read that it was a salvage pallet. And I'm just like, ooh, look at all these Instapots. Like, that's going to be money.
See, here's the thing. One of the reasons why we do these videos is so that you guys don't make the same mistakes that we did. Because we really saw the potential. We knew how much those items sold for. I can't remember how much we paid for this pallet, but it was under $500. So it was like maybe $300 and something.
Delivered from Texas.
Yeah. So I mean, like, that should have been our first sign. Right. You know, that should have been our first clue. But we're like, oh no, this is going to be great. And I actually remember Joe had pulled the first pot out of this giant pallet that we couldn't even fit in the door. We had to unbox it outside.
We did.
And he picked it up, and the whole front panel of this air fryer comes completely off and exposing all of the wiring and everything inside. And I still stand by, to this day, I do not know how Joe got me to agree to buy more pallets after that, because I was done. I was like, this is terrible. We started parting stuff together. I think we ended up I worked hard enough.
We made our money back on the pallet.
Right.
It's not like we lost money. We made money on it because we were resourceful. And we're able to sell the stuff for what we knew that we could.
I actually have a picture of a coffee pot that was completely messed up, and I ended up, I believe it was a coffee pot. I found 5 or 6 different coffee pots, all of which were broken, and put together one good coffee pot just to try to make the money back. But it was really not worth the time, or it wasn't profitable. I was really just trying to save us from losing.
But we did sell it to somebody in Colorado. So.
We did. So there was that. And that is our first pallet. It was a terrible learning opportunity, but I'll tell you what, every pallet we bought after that, we made sure we read all of the fine print. So hope that answers your question, Mike. Thank you for asking.
Hello from Montana.
This is from Camo Wayne.
Yeah, my wife and I watch a lot of your videos, and we've been wanting to do something like this, but we're kind of needing some advice on how to get started. And plus, we tried to purchase a pallet advertised for $100, and we believed that we got scammed.
I'm going to be honest with you. If you bought a pallet for $100, you probably did.
You most definitely got scammed.
Facebook is like that. They look at all these people who want to open and all these kinds of stuff, and then they say like, for $99, for $59.99, you can get a pallet of liquidized stuff. And I'm going to tell you, that sounds too good to be true, because it is.
Yep.
Yeah, it is.
Pallets are expensive. You're not going to find really any pallets for under $300.
Yeah.
Unless there's something really, really wrong with it. But then to deliver the pallet, depending upon where you are, that's a minimum of another $200. So if you're paying $100, there's no way. So
you asked for some advice on how to get started. So I do have an ebook that really helps people get started, because not all of us have that spending money to experiment. Yeah. And I always tell people, do not spend your light money on pallets. Do not spend your rent money on pallets. Do not spend any of that necessary stuff on pallets. What you need to do is sell old stuff around your house, or build up slowly, or find out if anybody else has anything to sell that you can sell to make money to buy that first pallet, because the chances are the earlier you are in this, the more mistakes you're going to make. And unfortunately, that's also the time that you really don't have that kind of money to lose.
Right.
So I recommend doing that. If you are looking for pallets, I would start locally. If you can, depending on your area. But I would look on Facebook, not Marketplace, but Facebook, for pallet liquidators in your area that you can go visit and physically see the pallets that you are buying. And you can also look on Google as well. But I will tell you, there are more liquidators that are advertising on Facebook than Google. So
hopefully we answered that full question. I believe I have talked to you, Camo Wayne, on the Facebook when you had messaged us. But if anybody else has a follow-up question, just put it in the comments.
And we'll make sure we get to it. All right, next question from Jimmy H. You have a great group of employees, don't we though? We do.
We do.
That seem to have a lot of fun. How did you find them? And can I steal a few of them for my business? Let me tell you something about employees though. It's a hard thing to balance as a business owner, because we do have the responsibility of making sure that we make enough, that their paychecks get paid, that our bills get paid, that we can continue the business running. But at the same time, understanding them in their humanity, in the way that they are, they are people, and that there are a lot of things that go on outside of these walls that affect the way that they do business here. And I think it's our job as the leaders to make it that way. That doesn't mean that we roll over and just let them do whatever they want so that our productivity suffers. But there is a way to communicate, and each person is different.
Yeah. I would say, how did we find them? Is all of the employees that we have hired in the past, granted, except for like Whitney, because she's been with us for a long, long time, or Paul, David, they all have shopped in our store, and we get tons and tons of people who shop with us that they want to work in our store, because it is fun. As Jessica said, as the owners of the store, we set the tone. If we're in a bad mood, guess who's also going to be in a bad mood? If we are having fun, we are energetic, we're engaging, guess what they're going to do as well? So it starts with us.
Yep.
But then finding people that, it's like we're always looking, not that we're looking to get rid of anybody, but there are certain customers that we have that come in that they want to work here, but we don't have room for them, right? But we can build relationships with them as a customer to see what their personality is like, what their behaviors are like when they shop here over a long period of time, to know if they would be a good fit here. And some people that we've hired, like, we wanted to be a good fit and they didn't, because we're our own people. Like, not everybody works out, but we make it fun. We make it a place where people want to work here. And then we hire the right people the vast majority of the time. So
no, you can't borrow them.
Don't bother them either.
Either that. But you can't borrow them because they're our family. So, but of course, if they wanted to move on for their own sake, we would bless them to go. But I will say, if I had to give any piece of advice about that, it would be that to work on yourself.
Yeah.
Like work on your own self. Because I know that there are things that I do and behaviors that I have that don't work well in a work environment. And
Yeah.
it is my job to identify what those are and make it so that it is not an obstacle that everybody else has to overcome or has to work around.
Yeah.
Because I'm the leader, which means that I'm
Yeah.
going to be the one that adjusts, and then that trickles down to them learning, oh, this is how we do it.
They're not here to serve us. We are here to serve them. And if you have that mentality, people will want to work for you. People will have fun working for you.
It's a fun time.
Yep.
It's not always easy, but it's a fun time.
Debbie B says, how do you go about buying pallets? How to find Sam's, Walmart, Amazon, Google search, ask folks like yourselves. So I have spent a lot of time over the years building relationships with the people that we buy from. Now, what I did was I pretty much did what you said. I searched Google. I searched Facebook, not Marketplace, but Facebook for liquidation places. There are various Facebook groups that are out there that are dedicated to like liquidation bin stores that you look in those places, you see what's available, find out what you want, and then you talk to those people and you build relationships with them to figure out if there's somebody that I'm going to want to do business with long term. Because I'm not just trying to buy one truckload, right? I want to build a relationship where that person that I'm buying from is invested in my business, that they're not just trying to make a sale. They know that long-term success in this business is relationships where they're going to want to provide the best product that they can, and not really the best product. They want to communicate the best they can about the products that they have, so that as a buyer, I am fully aware of those, so that I don't get stuff that I'm not expecting, or I don't get something where I'm expecting this super high quality stuff and I get something else.
I also think it's a little bit different for us because we do have this platform that we do try to figure out what each liquidator is about before they know who we are.
Yep.
So we do our due diligence for research on that. We read the reviews, we think about those things, and then we cut out the top reviews and the bottom reviews, and we look at the ones somewhere in the middle that have maybe some ounce of truth and kind of figure out what's going on there. When we build these relationships with them, we're communicating with them in a very clear tone of like, this is what our business is about. This is what we're looking for. This is what we want. You know, what can you do for us? What can you offer us? And then over time, we build relationships with them. And there are plenty of resources and books out there on how to network business-wise. And I recommend that you read them, that you take them in, and that you learn how to speak in a way that is both respectful and assertive. Because I think that any business owner will appreciate that kind of communication.
Yeah. Cheapest is not always the best. The most expensive is not the best. I'm looking for people when something's not the way it is, that they're going to talk to me and they're going to help me through that process.
Yep. Kyle G asks, when you get something in that you do not know what it is, do you hand type in the item info, or do you take a picture and use Google Lens? Both.
So for me, I probably do the most of that out of anybody, and I'm trying to do I have ADHD, so I'm trying to find the easiest way possible to do something anyways. So for me, I've found that if it has a label on there, I'm going to scan it. I know a lot of times that the label may be covered with another label, like an LPN label or a red, green, or orange label, depending on where it comes from. I've got my heat gun. I'm removing it from that because I want to scan it, because that's so much easier than trying to type out a bunch of stuff. But I also have found that a Google search works a lot better sometimes than an Amazon search or even eBay search.
And it may even be faster to use talk to text.
Yeah. And a lot of times that's just because of how Amazon's algorithm is, the search algorithm is created to do things. The same thing with eBay and the same thing with Google. I use Google Lens as a last resort because there is so much more work that you have to do to filter out the stuff that it's not. Granted, if it's an easy thing where you can scan it very easily, but a lot of times if it's a very inconspicuous item, I'm not going to Google Lens.
Hope that answers your question, Kyle.
All right. Carol in asks, how do you keep track of inventory when doing liquidation pallets since it is always different?
That's a great question. And we don't necessarily, when you're talking about item inventory, we don't do that because there's too many things. It's not like your typical retail store where you get a case pack of like a t-shirt in multiple sizes where you can actually inventory that. We cannot possibly do that with thousands of one-off items. However, what we can do is we can do the math to figure out what is profitable in terms of, how many pallets do we put out into the bins, and how many of those pallets sell, the sell-through rate. It's very complicated. I'm trying to make it very, very simple, and it's hard. Do you have a better way to explain
it's just, on our scale, there's no way that you could do that. When we were buying a pallet by itself and 2 pallets at a time, it was very easy for us to keep inventory, and we did. I had an Excel spreadsheet. I put it all in, all that information, but now we put out 5,000 to 6,000 items a week. There's no way that we could do it. So we don't.
eBay, we do have an inventory system that is on, it's really eBay, the active listings on eBay, that we can look at. But with the bin store items, the way that we track success or failure is based on net profit.
Yeah, and to get specific, when it comes to like our high piece count pallets that we used to put in the bins, I don't always know what's in every single pallet or how many items, but occasionally, I will count those, like 6 or 7, 8 pallets. We'll count every single piece that is on that pallet to get an idea of what the average piece count is, to know what our unit cost is per item, to actually know, are we making any money?
And I hope that answers that question. Yeah. Tim Z asks, do y'all bid on pallets or are they a set price?
We used to bid on pallets before the pandemic started, but now we don't do that anymore. We just go with the set price, and the reason being why we used to bid on them then was there wasn't as many people in the industry, so prices didn't go so high. But when the pandemic came and a lot of people had a lot more money, it's crazy. It was a pandemic. People weren't working, but people had a lot more money. Think that through. It's crazy, right? But when that happened, right, the prices on auctions, on online auctions, it went through the roof. Pallets that you could get for $300 were now selling for $700.
Yeah.
And there's just no money buying those pallets that we used to buy at $700. So pallets are set prices. Do they fluctuate? Yes, they do at times, and that's where the people that we buy from, depending upon the contracts that they have to buy specific loads and the quantity of loads, as their price fluctuates, our price fluctuates as well.
We hope you've enjoyed these questions, and stay tuned for the personal questions that get you a little bit of an insight on what me and Joe are like, I guess.
So if you want to check out some store-specific questions that we were asked and answered, there's going to be a link down in the description to our Facebook page where you can check out those store-specific questions.
We thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any additional questions that you would like us to answer, just put those down in the comments and we will be sure to address them. We thank you guys so much. Until next time, peace.